Running for city council is a really big challenge, and I've needed encouragement and support. And I never would have started this campaign in April unless people had called on me to run. They knew about my dedication to climate action and social justice issues. These are issues we've worked hard on together, trying to get government to take more action, encouraged at times with progress, and then frustrated about things that stay the same. Politicians have told me that this election in 2022, the municipal election in Coquitlam, is not about change. They've told me that people are happy with the government the way it is, but I know that the people in this room want some change. I know that's why you're here. There are crises that call on all levels of government to make very big changes. Our world is late in addressing the climate crisis. At the same time, there are personal economic challenges facing so many Canadians. Prices are rising for everything, but housing has outpaced all other forms of inflation. And a whole generation of young adults is now unable to find a place to live. I knock on the door, and who's at home? People in their 20s and 30s living with their parents still. And say, I'm thinking of moving out of the country so I can find a place that I can afford to live in. My concern for the world and activism started at a young age. I can remember when excavators came to my neighborhood to knock down trees and make way for new homes. I was really angry as a little child, and I was yelling at them from my front porch. I loved to play in the forest, and I loved the way they looked, felt, and smelled. It was a personal insult to me to see them come down. As an adult, I can understand that we need to make space for people to live. But I know there's something true about the childhood intuitions and cares that I have. The natural world is our life support system and is under threat. Rising global temperatures are a reality, and we're beginning to see the devastation it can cause. Last year, heat domes killed over 600 people in BC. Floods devastated farmland. The entire city of Lytton was burned to the ground. This summer, there's open water at the North Pole. It's so demoralizing. I cannot fault the people who feel like giving up. But we have not given up. And by we, I mean a lot of people. And I've spoken with a lot of people. For the past 7 years, I've been working with the Force of Nature Tri-Cities team. By the end of 2018, we had supported climate champions to get elected in 10 municipalities around the Lower Mainland as city councillors. With their support, we were able to get city after city to adopt the United Nations climate targets and start making a plan to get there for all of the operations in the city. Not just for the operations that the city itself does, the trucks and buildings owned by the city, but the whole community, every building, every house, and every vehicle. First of all, we have to start constructing zero emissions buildings today. Over 25% of emissions in Metro Vancouver come from buildings. The buildings that are constructed today will still be in use when we hit our zero emissions target year of 2050. Technology exists and it's not expensive. Do not fall for the idea that we are going to have zero emission natural gas. Renewable natural gas does exist, but it will never meet anywhere near 10% of the energy needs. The future of heating your homes is electric heat pumps. By requiring heat pumps on all new buildings, we can ensure the heating and the necessary cooling that we're going to need into the increasingly hot summers will come from renewable energy sources that do not create carbon emissions. Over 30% of emissions in Metro Vancouver are from small cars and trucks. And this number is likely even higher in Coquitlam. Metro Vancouver's electric vehicle adoption is the highest in the country, but still only represents a small minority of vehicles on the road. The younger generations are looking to live without the $10,000 to $30,000 it costs to have a vehicle every year. So we need to find a way for our city to support people that want to live without a car or truck. Cars and trucks are such a major part of our life, and we're at the core of Coquitlam's identity for the better part of the last century. Coquitlam was a suburb, and residents commuted to their jobs, often in Vancouver, usually by car. But it wasn't always that way in the Lower Mainland. In the first half of the 20th century, there was a zero-emission electric railway that ran from Chilliwack and White Rock all the way through New Westminster and Richmond to Vancouver. The transition away from these electric interurban trains in the 50s, 60s, and 70s was part of a move by industry and governments around North America to convince people that they needed personal vehicles. This was a disaster for our prosperity, for income inequality, and for the livability of our cities, most of all for the climate. car-oriented suburb is a failed project, and it is imperative we transition away from this. Experts in urban planning know that a big solution to our housing crisis and the climate crisis is to build complete, compact communities where people can choose to live without a car. The City of Coquitlam has the power to do this by removing restrictions on density, prioritizing safe walking and biking routes, and by allowing developers to create buildings with as little parking as the free market would bear. We're not asking everybody to give up their car. What we're trying to do is make sure that those that want to make that choice to save $10,000 to $30,000 a year and stop producing all the climate emissions from a car can make that choice without having to sacrifice having a regular lifestyle. Let's talk about housing. It's quite hard to find a place to live in Coquitlam. In fact, that's the way it is across the country. What I learned in talking to housing experts is that the next 4 years is a very important time because there will be ample money from the provincial and federal levels to address the housing needs of our community, and especially for low-income people. 40% of renters in Coquitlam are in core housing need, which means they're paying too much for housing. I would like to make sure that Coquitlam addresses these needs by having a comprehensive plan that starts by looking citywide, not neighborhood by neighborhood, because we can't rely on a neighborhood to provide housing needs for the whole city. We need to do it citywide, and the city together needs to decide how we're going to solve these problems by setting goals and plan. There are a couple of policies that I would definitely push for on council in terms of housing. I plan to push for protection for renters, including something called a standards of maintenance bylaw. Standards of maintenance bylaw would protect people living in stratas, rental buildings. It would also protect people living in mobile home parks where they rent the pad that they park their mobile home. I want to tell you a little bit about Wildwood RV Park. There are 266 mobile homes in Wildwood. There was a change of ownership in the past 5 years. In 2017, the new owner came in and decided that he wanted to redevelop the mobile home park. One of the strategies that he used was to stop maintaining the park. This led to serious safety hazards and may have harmed some of the residents. Not having snow removal meant people who needed medical services couldn't have people attend their home in order to provide those medical services. People were falling. Another maintenance issue was overgrowth of trees, which led to electrical fires, and also blocked pumps, because Wildwood is on the floodplain, so it tends to flood. And when the drainage system is not maintained, then flooding happens regularly. When the residents called the city, although they live in a house on a road in the city of Coquitlam, the city said we can't do anything because that's private property. A standards of maintenance bylaw would give the city jurisdiction to send bylaw officers in to enforce these rules. And it would also allow the same thing for people living in rental buildings and townhomes. And I want to circle back to the BC Nonprofit Housing Association. They told me the most cost-effective way to create rental housing is to maintain the existing rental housing that we have. Building new housing is more expensive than maintenance. But what about developers who buy a place up and don't maintain it as a way to get to redevelopment so they can build a lucrative project? That shouldn't be happening either. What we need is a citywide plan for where we're going to develop and how we're going to develop, and not leave it up to places becoming unmaintained to the point where that particular neighborhood says, yes, we want to redevelop it here. Instead, we need to together as a city decide where and when to redevelop. I can say the following about the staff at the City of Coquitlam. 10 of the senior staff earn over $200,000 per year.
Sweet.
The mayor earns $183,000. The city manager earns $356,991 per year. And the deputy city manager earns $288,189 per year. When I think about whether these people know about the struggles of people who are living in rental housing that's not maintained, I don't think that they have a good sense of it. I think it's important that there's someone on council who can bring forth those concerns and bring forth ideas from people who are working in the nonprofit sector to create policy that solves these problems. I'd also like to talk about developers. I've posted on the wall a Vancouver Sun article about a councillor from Port Moody named Hunter Madsen. Hunter Madsen has done some legwork on how developers are finding a way around rules that prevent them from donating to city council candidates. Development corporations, all corporations, unions, cannot donate funds to candidates for municipal council. But my understanding of what's happening from talking to some people on city councils they're able to receive large donations from people associated with developers, the employees, the owners, the family members. They're able to run campaigns that have funds of tens of thousands of dollars. And yet, they're not required to disclose any of this information besides their regular disclosure after the campaign. They're not required to recuse themselves from decisions about developments and things like that. I think that this needs a counterbalance. Hunter Manson's suggesting we have a code of conduct and that councils are required to step back from decisions. I just wanted to say candidates like myself and other candidates that are running for the first time are most likely not receiving these kind of funds. It's important that we get more people who are representing the citizens and the residents of Coquitlam rather than people who want to come here and make investment on council. Those are the reasons I'm running, and I need every one of you to support me in the ways that I've outlined on the checklist here today in any other way you can.
We don't have political parties in Coquitlam, but that doesn't mean that every candidate running is actually an independent candidate. The reason I'm speaking today and supporting Ben's campaign is because he's a truly independent candidate. Unlike many of the other candidates, he's not being swayed by political players at other levels of government, meaning he has the freedom to act according to his principles and vote according to his principles. And that, to me, is really important. I also believe that Ben is driven by a desire to create positive change in the world. Ben's commitment to environmental action and to affordability is inspiring. He's well known as a local advocate and not as a candidate who's going to champion issues during a campaign and then forget about them between elections. I've been out on the doorsteps with Ben, and I've heard many Coquitlam residents express concerns about affordability in the city and how they've been feeling the squeeze lately. And I've heard from many others who are expressing concerns about climate change and what political inaction might mean for them. These are two very big issues for the people of Coquitlam, and that creates an opportunity for Ben to set a tone in this election and to lead the conversation with regard to how council can address these issues locally. In addition to addressing those two key issues, Ben understands the need to represent all Coquitlam residents. He's committed to listening and learning about all of the issues that are facing people in Coquitlam, working collaboratively with other politicians, and advocating on behalf of those who need assistance from their city. His platform reflects this, and I've talked about affordability and climate change, but I encourage you to visit Ben's website to see everything that he stands for in this election. And if you see any gaps, to let him know as well, because I know that he's always open to listening to you. And good luck to you, Ben. I hope you get elected this fall.
Thanks, Nicola. I'm going to tell you some more of the reasons I'm running. I'm going to list them off, and I'd like you guys to respond if you think it's a good idea. You can clap, you can shout something out, do whatever you like. I'm running so government is accountable to the voter and not to developers. I'm running so decisions made by the city are democratic and open, with debate happening before the public. I'm running to make sure our tax dollars are not wasted on expensive contracts and salaries. I'm running to bring more diverse voices and experiences to City Hall along with me. I'm running so we can plan a city that meets the housing needs of our residents. I'm running so low-income people can stay in their homes and continue to live in Coquitlam. I'm running so that people can meet their basic needs in Coquitlam without owning a car. I'm running so that the buildings we build today will not produce carbon emissions today or 30 years from now. I'm running so homeless people can get off the streets and have a chance to reintegrate into society. I'm running so we can stop sprawling into the forest and start building livable, compact neighborhoods. I'm running so that people can ride their bikes safely, walk safely, and use mobility aids safely in the city. I'm running so landlords take responsibility to maintain their properties and residents can live safely and comfortably. I'm running so that we can build a carbon neutral city by 2050. And I'm running so that Coquitlam can be a place for everyone.
I wish I could donate the full $1,200, but I can at the moment pledge $200 to your campaign, Ben.
I'm running my own campaign in Port Coquitlam, but I'm going to be donating $100 today to Ben's campaign because I want to see Ben in City Council. I actually also running for Coquitlam City Council this year, but I also want to donate $100 to Ben.
Thank you, Harvey.
My name is Stephen Crozier, and I'm really pleased to be here to support Ben running for council here in Coquitlam.
I've known Ben for 5 years. When I started with Force of Nature, he was the driving force of Force of Nature, and I've been with him, been active with him in many campaigns. We've been working, and he's very super environmentally conscious and aware of the environment and the people he's working with.
My name is Eric Minty. I'm pleased to support my friend Ben Perry for Coquitlam City Council in 2022.
So please get out and vote, cast your vote in a way that matters for our communities.
Vote for Ben.
Vote for Ben Perry. He's the only proven climate activist for the last 7 years with Force of Nature that is actually running in this campaign. So vote for him if you care about climate action.
مرحبا السلام عليكم. تصويت بن بيري على الشهر 10 يوم 15. يلا مشكور. Please vote for Ben Perry.